before.
God, he's so hot. He's definitely 215 pounds. Like, that part is definitely real. He's definitely 250 pounds. He's definitely 6'3", and he definitely did everything right, and they indicted him. Trump has been booked at Fulton County Jail in Georgia election interference case. Let's take a look.
Former President Donald Trump turned himself in last night in Georgia to face charges that he tried to undermine the 2020 election and to remain in power against the will of the American people who chose to vote him out. Now, his mugshot joins a gallery of images taken of his alleged co-conspirators as they surrendered in Atlanta. Trump continues to insist that he is innocent, and he paints himself as a victim. Nicole Killian is outside the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta. Nicole, good morning. It was really something to see that mugshot last night.
Yeah, it certainly was, Galen. Good morning to you. Overnight, 5 more defendants turned themselves in ahead of a noon deadline today. That includes former Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark. But it was the former president's surrender last night that had the whole world watching.
Former President Trump, now known as inmate PO 1135809, after being booked Thursday night at the Fulton County Jail, joining a growing number of the 19 co-defendants in the Georgia election interference case. His height was recorded at 6'3" with a weight of 215 pounds. The former president used a local bail bonds company to cover his $200,000 bond before.
God, he's so hot. He's definitely 215 pounds. Like, that part is definitely real. He's definitely 250 pounds. He's definitely 6'3", and he definitely did everything right, and they indicted him.
Flying back to New Jersey.
What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election.
The process took less than half an hour, with the former president being escorted in and out of jail, where supporters stood by their man.
He can be convicted, and he can run this country from jail. I wouldn't care.
Right.
We'd still vote for him.
Okay with
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Trump was charged with 13 counts, including racketeering,
thugs, the lot of them, all of them, thugs. Lock them up. Lock them up. Lock those criminals up too. Okay? That's what I say. Law and order.
Criminal conspiracy and making false statements for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, stemming in part from this call with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Former White House chief of...
So that is the only time you will hear the fucking perfect phone call. Fox News never plays it. They only say it's not illegal to ask for, favors from friends or whatever the fuck, right? But they'll never actually play it. They never play it, okay? They never play it, which is hilarious. Newsmax, we saw yesterday, plays a different part. Newsmax plays a different part from that same phone call where he's saying like, I got to find 11,000 votes. Come on. We need 11,000 votes, something like that. Or not Newsmax. Which one is the one? Yeah, Newsmax is the one that's like right wing, right? And then they play it and say, it's actually cool that he's saying that. It's not illegal. But like the 11,780 votes one is so specific. It is so obvious what he's doing there. Especially when paired up with the other attempts that all of his other currently indicted co-conspirators were engaging in at his direction. Okay? It's very clear what was happening. You know what I mean? We've talked about it so many fucking times. And one of the worst aspects of this so far has been that Fox News is just outright refusing to defend him. Normally, they would at least make an attempt to defend him. Instead of defending him, they just keep talking about Hunter Biden, which is very frustrating. Like, old Fox News would have at the very least like done a better job of not just deflecting away, because like, yeah, sure, talk about Hunter Biden's cock all you want. Okay? Talk about it all you want. That's great. You should do that. But like, when new developments are occurring surrounding Donald Trump, you need to give talking points to the fucking hogs. And they have dropped the ball entirely. I see very little talking points coming out from the right-wing ecosystem, and it's interesting to me. I have yet to see the mainstream right publications legitimately tackle this issue. Kaya, what are you doing? Whoa, what the hell?
One eternity later.
I have no idea what happened. She's just like, chill. I think she just like got scared. I think she got scared of my dad or something, like doing stuff upstairs. Or she's seeing a ghost. Fuck, another earthquake incoming? No, she fucking slept through the earthquake even yesterday on leftovers.
The staff Mark Meadows was also on that 2021 call with Trump and Raffensperger.
Mr. President, everybody is on the line, and just so, this is Mark Meadows, the Chief of Staff.
He turned himself in Thursday as well after his efforts to delay his surrender were rejected by a federal judge. The former president already trying to capitalize on the moment, selling merchandise on his campaign website. And for the first time since being banned in January 2021, he returned to X, formerly known as Twitter. He posted his booking photo writing, "I will never surrender our mission," and included a link for contributions.
What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong.
The former president and the rest of the defendants could be arraigned as soon as next month. District Attorney Fani Willis has proposed a new trial date of October 23rd, but so far a judge has only granted that request for one defendant. Tony?
All right, Nicole, thank you very much.
This week, our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams. Rachel Scott is tracking the campaign from Iowa right now. Dan, let me begin with you. This was a little bit different from the previous arraignments. He actually had this mugshot taken. Did he get any special treatment?
Look, he got the same treatment that any white-collar defendant with a high-priced lawyer who can negotiate bond ahead of time would get, right? That's the key point, is the ability to negotiate bond before you get there allows the process to move very quickly. Did this process move even more quickly? Maybe a little bit. But bottom line is, if you're in this financial situation with a high-priced lawyer in this kind of crime, this is typically what would happen.
I was surprised he didn't pay the full bond. He used a bail bondsman.
Yeah.
10%. That was something.
Yeah.
But we're going to see a lot of different maneuvering right now. We've already seen one of.
Okay, so obviously it was not a typical situation because there was a fucking straight-up police escort. And actually, they might have even gone above and beyond with the police escort as a show of force, like to say that the police are on his side a little bit, like the rank and file at least. So, here's the thing. I saw the t-shirts, man. I didn't miss it. It's fucking awful. He's of course getting special privilege. I think the bail bondsman situation was like for marketing for the bail bondsman. Trump loves a good deal. I don't think it's because he's like broke to that degree. I think it's because he probably got a good deal from the bail bondsman who was like, oh yeah, if you get it from me, I'll probably, pay the, like, I know you're not going to do anything and I'll probably pay the whole thing. You know what I mean? Including the down payment. The bondsman doesn't decide the bond. That's not what I'm talking about. The bondsman is a independent business owner, a bail bondsman, and they probably paid the 20 grand of the 200 grand down payment for the bond. They probably did that as like, marketing, or maybe gave it to him for free. The bondsman only collects if you don't show up to court. Yeah, I know. I'm saying the bonds. Okay, here's how bonds work. Okay, the court says, you're not like a full-blown flight risk, so we're just gonna put your bail bond at $200K. So if you don't have $200K cash that you can give to the courts, or if you don't want to give it to the courts for some reason, you go to a bail bondsman. Okay. And that in normal circumstances, if you're not Donald Trump, the bail bondsman will, or the bond person will say, okay, give me 10% of the $200K as a down payment, or whatever the payment structure looks like, they can decide on that. And I will put up the $200,000 to the court. Now, if you don't show up to your court date, then all of a sudden, it is in the interest of the bail bondsman to find you, okay? To ensure that you either forcibly show up to your court date so the court doesn't take the $200K, because he's now out $200K at that point. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you skip out on your bail. That's why you have bounty hunters, okay? That's where the bounty hunters come in. So they also charge interest on the bonds. I think they do. Yeah. I'm just saying that like the bondsman probably didn't ask for any kind of like down payment or anything because he probably got a lot of promo off of it. Anyway, listen. None of this shit matters. I totally forgot what I was going to say. God damn it. I had a really good take, but then Kaya Barkin fucked it up.
Of the co-defendants move for a speedy trial. Trump doesn't want that.
Correct. So you have one, possibly more of the defendants now saying, we want a speedy trial. That is your constitutional right to a speedy trial. And in Georgia, that means you're going to get it. So the defendants who say we want a speedy trial are going to get a speedy trial. The question's going to be, how much can the other defendants, in particular Donald Trump, who does not want a trial moving quickly, going to be able to delay the process? But it is clear to me that there is no way all these defendants are going to end up getting tried together.
Doesn't seem like that.
Oh, I was talking about how the mainstream right isn't even defending him. Yeah, I know. It's kind of cooked. It's kind of cooked that the mainstream right is not really giving like good counters. Partially for two different reasons, I think. Here's my suspicion. One, I think the mainstream right is not giving good counters for Trump and Trump supporters because they secretly want him to die. Okay? They secretly want him to get absolutely blasted. He's on tape, that's why. You think these motherfuckers care about that? Are you crazy? Austin, we're talking about people that deny reality that is like in front of your eyes. If there is enough will, then there's always a way. It's not because he's dead to rights. It's more so because I don't think there is enough interest from the right to defend him. Because they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about the fucking truth. Let's be real. We're talking about mainstream right-wing outlets. They have very successfully crafted a narrative that like climate change is fake. It's a hoax, a conspiracy. I don't think they're not providing a good defense because there's no good defense. They don't need to have a good defense. They need to have a defense. Yep, it's the opposite of what the chatter said. They know their audience doesn't believe it, even if it's said on video. So why sweat trying to defend? No, I think that there are always people in the margins beyond the Trump loyalists that don't give a shit if he's like arrested. Because not every single person that is, has voted for Trump is looking at the situation and is like, I don't give a fuck if he's in jail. I don't care. I'll still vote for him. Not every single Trump supporter is going to think like that. By mainstream right, do you mean the politicians, the media pundits, etc., or do you mean the voter base? I mean mainstream right, the machine, like the American Enterprise Institute and all these other think tanks that normally churn out talking points that get handed out to Fox News and the like, that go all the way down to like the Steven Crowders of the world that get into this chat in the form of like gray names repeating them. That all is this major manipulation infrastructure, right? It's the same infrastructure that also facilitates AstroTurf campaigns on particular issues. They haven't really done a lot of talking points on that directly address the Trump issue at all. They almost always move away from the Trump issue and immediately go, oh, but what about Hunter Biden? What about Hunter Biden? What about Hunter Biden? And I find that particularly strange because this is an issue that will require constant counter propaganda because not every single person is a diehard Trump loyalist within the Republican Party's base. And if they don't actually cut counter propaganda that gives people talking points that they can post all over the fucking internet, then all of a sudden, you're going to start losing out. You're going to start losing more and more of the base. So I do personally think that a lot of those institutions that the Republican Party actively relies on for talking points and even Fox News, they're not really lending him that much of a hand. I know that Republicans have a lot of those institutions, Federal Society, Heritage Foundation, American Enterprise, but do the Dems have any sort of propaganda machine that's akin to the Republican one? They do, but it's for bullshit, boring, like also still liberal capitalist nonsense. I don't think Fox is staying away because they got burned from the Dominion shit. I think the real reason why they're not doing it, and not actively giving a counter for their audience to like spit out all the time, And you literally see that. You see that in action even in this chat. None of the gray names have any counters for Donald Trump. Like, they have no way of tackling the issue head on. They have no counters for tackling the issue head on. They just say Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden. I'm like, okay, throw him in jail too. And they got nothing. And I do think that the major reason as to why that's happening is because like Rupert Murdoch and a lot of the like institutional right-wingers are waiting for him to get absolutely shitted on by the criminal justice system. They see him as too big of a liability for two reasons. One, because he's Trump, he is a liability. And two, he's a one-term candidate. If Trump wins again, he's a one-term candidate that lost. He couldn't even utilize his incumbent advantage against Joe Biden. And if he wins this time, he's going to even if he wins this time, he can't go for 2 terms. So why would they want someone like that? Hey, loser, why are you so bad with politics? Please further elaborate, and I hope you have some defenses for Donald Trump. That would be awesome. We've been really desperate to hear some counters about the Donald Trump situation. Like, we haven't had a good hog wrestling in a minute, dude. Like, even yesterday, that guy, what was it, like Saba Baby or whatever? That British guy was like arguing on shit from 2021. You know what I mean? Like things that have no impact on his life at all. You are not attacking Donald Trump. You just use him as a weak spot for conservatives. See, there you go. There's another Republican who's just like, who's I guess moved beyond the Trump train. Yeah, the other guy was like a COVID guy. You wanted to talk about COVID. So are you a conservative, Pixel Milk, or what? And do you like Donald Trump? Or do you think that Donald Trump actually has like real cases against them? What's going on? Who are you voting for? I've seen enough of you to disagree with your beliefs. Yeah, it's fine. Even though this is the first time you've actually fucking said anything and you've been following for literally one day, I'm sure you've seen enough. So what's your take? Who do you like? Who's your dog in the fight? You know what I mean? Who's going to save the Republican Party's future? Because I think if you are a real die in the wool, I'm a fucking OG Republican type of person, you are like Nikki Haley. You know what I mean? You see the existential threat that the Republican Party has. I don't even live in America. Oh, opinion discarded. Get out of my country. Well, you're not in the country, and you probably won't. Never mind. Fuck, maybe we shouldn't ban him. God, it's so sad. It's like I'm desperate for Republican takes to a certain degree that like I'm willing to fucking have like un-American backseaters in here. Like, this is the state of affairs in online discourse now. Like, back in the day, we used to get so many fucking right-wingers in here that would just like constantly try to defend Donald Trump and talk about how Donald Trump was great. And it's always, nowadays, it's always like these online fucking dildos that like want to LARP as American right-wingers. And it's like, it's not the same, brother. You have no juice. You don't understand it. You're just following from the sidelines. It doesn't impact you in the same way. Hasan, you're going to vote for a senile 82-year-old who's copying Stephen Miller's immigration policy? Yeah, it's great. I love it. As opposed to what? The senile 81-year-old? Like, what are we talking about? I never said I'm voting for Joe Biden. You don't know who I'm fucking voting for. Well, I mean, when mods block any and everything, this happens. The problem is, you need to open the pig pens if you want to hog wrestle and mass unban the hogs. We're not doing that. Problem is, a lot of the hogs that we ban, we don't ban because they disagree with me, chatters. Like, you've been in here long enough. We ban them because they're not in here to like actually disagree or have a conversation. They're in here to just be like, here's your house address. And also, I'm going to come over and put a fucking bullet in the back of your mind. Okay. Or fucking, you're a pedophile for defending trans people. Or just like a bunch of, they just say like insane Nazi shit. So like, it sucks. Anyway. And no, stop trying to fucking be a conservative LARPer in the chat. Yeah, conservative chatters are boring now because Fox isn't churning out any talking points. Exactly the point you're making. They're just insane fascists because there's no proper defense for Trump. That is precisely my point. Thank you for understanding. That's exactly what I'm saying. That is what I think is you 100% ban for opposing viewpoints if they aren't blatantly R-worded. First of all, that is not even remotely true. Like you, if you keep this fucking shit up, I probably would ban you because you're derailing the conversation with an R-worded talking point. The fuck are you mean? What are you saying? Like, you've been following since yesterday. You have no fucking clue, dumbass. You're starting to sound like Asmongold. I am quite literally looking for dissent. And I have always cherished dissent. The problem is that there's normal dissent to be like, this is why we love Trump. And I call it not only hog watching, but petting the hog. We have a fucking emote for it. That's how much this community loves right-wing talking points. We spend our whole day looking at it. The issue, unfortunately, is that there is dissent, which is like, I disagree with you and here is why. And then there is, you're fucking fake socialist, you own a house. Like, I'm not going to address the same shit a million times over. And if this person is like being annoying in the chat, we're going to ban them because it's going to derail the conversation, which is currently happening right now. All right. Anyway, let's continue.
Rachel, we saw Trump's return to Twitter, tweeting out that mugshot. He's raising a lot of money off it.
Donald Trump was fundraising off of that mugshot, George, before his plane even touched down back in Bedminster. And then he made that sudden and surprise turn back to the platform formerly known as Twitter. This was his biggest megaphone for years.
I'm not going to address the same shit a million times over, Cap. I mean, I do end up addressing the same shit a million times over, but that's the point. I just like, there's good, valuable dissent that's entertaining and fun. And then there's like just the same shit slinging over and over again.
Years. He was banned after January 6th. Then he posted that mugshot with the words "never surrender," clearly still very defiant, George.
And Rachel, you're in Iowa right now. We saw the debate a couple nights ago. Donald Trump's still the big front runner there in Iowa. What's the mood from what you can tell on the ground?
4 indictments, 91 charges total, and he still has a commanding lead in this race. Most Republican voters standing by the former president, but I have definitely talked to a lot of Republican voters here in Iowa who tell me they are keeping an open.
I love the idea of saying never surrender when you're posting a photo right underneath it of you quite literally surrendering to the state. Like, that is what that was. It's actually called surrendering. So, you know, that's cool. That's fun. But once again, just don't forget that the Civil War narrative is so dead. It is so incredibly Jover for the right. January 6th absolutely stopped it dead in its tracks, where a lot of these HVAC business owners for the first time ever saw that, like, oh shit, law enforcement can sometimes go against us. We had forgotten. We thought that the role was to harass minorities at our behest. Turns out we can be harassed and actually fucking go to jail for crimes that we engage in, right? So because of that, and because of the other thing that I mentioned as far as like the instruments, okay, the institutional power brokers within the Republican Party refusing to lend their structural and logistical support to Donald Trump and astroturf this shit. For those two components together, you're not really seeing a lot of momentum on the ground. You're not. It's obvious. So the idea that you're going to see another like insurrection style is just not happening. He has fallen off. Trump supporters have fallen off. The very fact that he actually surrendered shows that he has fallen off. You know what I mean? Why did he do that? Why is he going through the regular court system if he believes that the corrupt Democratic Party is destroying him within the courts? Why is he following the regular order of business? Why did he fucking surrender? Why did he go out there and say, hey, fuck it, I'm doing it. Here you go. Here's my mugshot. Why did he embarrass himself like this? You know? To avoid an arrest warrant. Okay, why is he not trying to fight back against that and saying, I'm not going to do it? because the alternative would be straight up fighting. That is my point exactly. Do you understand? That is my point exactly. He wants to act tough. He wants to say that like he's putting up a strong point. He's putting up a strong, firm opposition against the corrupt court system or whatever. But ultimately, he's clapped. That's it. I'm seeing a lot of conservatives saying this is his route to exposing election fraud, all cope. See, that's what you get when you don't have the unified Republican media machine pumping talking points into the domes of every single Trump supporter. They like look for other, they look to other alternative media for new talking points. And those talking points are all over the place. They're kind of fucking stupid. A lot of them are conspiratorial, but not in like a good way that makes sense. Does that make sense? They need the talking points and they're not getting them. So now it seems they are desperate to find whatever talking points they can run with, that will, I guess, like try and defend him. Won't this be like 2016 where the Republican Party will ignore him until they can't? I mean, they're not really ignoring him. They're saying that he's done nothing wrong, but they just kind of leave it at that. Anyway, let's continue.
Say that they could still back someone else. They worry this could become a distraction for the Republican Party. And of course, this remarkable split screen playing out while the former president was being booked and processed in Georgia. His closest rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, was back out here on the campaign trail. He told me he doesn't want this to overwhelm the party, but of course.
Hot take, but January 6th was one of the best things to happen in the U.S. in this decade. Completely killed all fascist organizing momentum, turned normies on right-wing militias again, and nothing good was lost. I mean, I think it came... it could have never happened if Joe Biden didn't win. You know what I mean? I think that also played a big role in it as well. But I think those guys just went back into the shadows where they're still definitely organizing and they're just waiting for another Trump-style figure to revitalize it again. This time they will come back with a vengeance. You don't think that January 6th fucking emboldened all these groups? No, dude. No, what you have to remember is you have to get momentum and at least some level of mainstream popularity so that you can fill up your ranks with real human beings. And if you're getting arrested in the funniest, goofiest way possible for like the most idiotic coup attempt, okay, the most idiotic insurrection attempt that ends with like people just putting their fucking feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk and shit, okay, and then 1,000 people go to jail, then it's over. No person with any capital to lose is going to stake their entire business on a guy like Donald Trump if there are real repercussions. I want to hear your take on why Nikki Haley is dog shit. I watched your commentary on YouTube and you disregarded her multiple times. In my opinion, the only GOP on the stage that made sense. I'm a moderate. Voted for JB 2020, Trump 2016. Many regrets. Undecided this year. And no, you follow this more than I am able to, so I appreciate your perspective. That's perfect. If you listened to what I said on my commentary with Nikki Haley is like an old school George W. Bush style Republican, like talking about the deficit. Let's get back to kitchen table issues, but from a Republican side. I obviously am completely against that because I think that like deficit hawking is bullshit. It's not real. It's just political posturing. Nobody gives a fuck about the deficit. Our military budgets inflate every fucking year. It's just people only care about the deficit when it comes to helping the poor. It's never the deficit or the budget when it comes to helping the rich. I mean, Trump put a massive dent in our coffers by offering gigantic tax breaks to corporations at a time when they had record high profits, and also the top marginal tax rate was lowered for the wealthiest people in America. And those tax cuts were actually permanent, whereas the other tax cuts that came along for the middle class and the poor Americans, that actually sunsetted already, I believe. I think it's sunsetting now. So I think Nikki Haley, I obviously ideologically disagree with because she's a Republican, or she's an American politician, let's just say, because I ideologically disagree with a lot of Democrats as well. But I also think Nikki Haley is just not even a good choice or a successful choice for the Republican Party. Because, hold on, we just banned a bunch of these people. We banned a bunch of the people in the chat while I was having this conversation because they were just saying pedo. Like that is how, you know, that is why you get banned. You know what I mean? You're so fucking stupid where you're like you come in here and the first thing you say is fucking pedo. Like, yeah, you're going to get clapped. And then they go, why can't you, this is why you don't have diversity of opinion. It's like, what do you mean? So yeah, like I said, Nikki Haley is a very smart lady. I don't think she is very effective at communicating. And I don't even think she's the right candidate for the Republican Party that will make it out of the primary anyway. Because in a post-Trump universe, they're not looking for, especially in the primary, they're not looking for a George W. Bush era Republican. You know what I mean? She speaks like a Democrat. She's the one I hate the least. Yeah, there you go. That's a good metric for why. She. You can understand how people in the Republican primaries are not going to vote for someone. If she sounds reasonable to you, that means she's a fucking rhino. Not even a rhino, but a dino. You know what I mean? And do you think she's just trying to get VP or something? If you had to vote for one of them, who'd you vote for? I would not. I would rather not. Like, there's no, I have to vote for someone. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that.
Of course, it is casting a very big shadow, George.
Dan, I want to go back to the timing. This is the fourth felony indictment now for the president. We face four possible trials. Any of them happen before the election?
I think the most likely one to happen before the election is either the D.C. federal case or potentially that New York
classified documents case.
Yeah, the classified documents case, or the no, actually the other case, not the classified. Yeah, I think that the classified documents case in front of Judge Cannon likely will not happen before the election. It's the D.C. case that I think actually might happen before the election. I think that's going to be tough too, though. Look, I think it's probably 50-50 as to whether any of these cases will happen before the election, and Donald Trump is going to do everything he can to extend the timeline.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC.
I look at some of the other people.
So Donald Trump went on Newsmax after his mugshot, which we watched a little bit, but then I was playing Armored Core, so I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to watch it. I'll watch it tomorrow. And apparently he had some bangers on here as well. Trump on the phone from Trump Force One. They're still LARPing as he's the president. I love it. Newsmax is like very nervous. Like there's a nervousness and weirdness about the way that they cover the news. I had never really watched them before. Until yesterday, and like the few moments that I saw were fucking hilarious. She's also an insane Zionist. I mean, we're talking about American politics. There's not a singular there's like a handful of people who are not insane Zionists in the American Congress. What are you talking about? And by that, I mean like pro-apartheid Zionism, like straight up. Like, what do you mean? It is straight up a non-issue for the most part. If Trump tweets one slightly negative thing about them, they're cooked. They're so scared. No, I think they are trying to be like the unapologetically pro-Trump party. Mr. Poussin and Andrew Fowler, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Yeah, Vivek said he's anti-Zionist, but he likes their apartheid and wants to do it here in America, which would literally exclude him. Like, he would not be a part of the fucking team. It's like being a gray name and advocating for the top of the hour ad break when you don't realize that, like, you're going to see a fucking 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. You know what I mean? You're not a subscriber. You're going to see a fucking 3-minute ad break at the top of the goddamn hour, you know? Now, of course, if you want to change that for you, if you want to change that reality for yourself, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account or by getting gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Bobbin for Giblets. It's a funny-ass name.
Now, I don't know a lot of those people. I don't even know that I met a lot of those people, but some I do. And their lives are destroyed by these maniacs. These are animals. These are
North Shark, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. North Shark Saboteur.
People. And Greg, it's so sad to see. And they don't have a lot of money, and some of them did almost nothing. They don't even know what they're being charged for. It's fair. I mean, I have counts where you're going to love this, and Chris Ruddy will be thrilled. But one of the things is I told people Newsmax. Did you know that? That was one of my counts. I told people to watch Newsmax.
We love it, sir. We love it,
telling
Mr.
people to watch Newsmax.
Thank you for that.
So it's, I hope you don't get charged. You'll probably get charged because I mentioned your name. So, but I think you'll be okay.
I think it's a badge of honor, quite frankly, and let's see what happens. Mr. President, the debate last night, I'm sure you caught at least some of it. Did you see a potential vice president on that stage? Did you really see somebody who might be eligible? And overall, what'd you think?
Well, first of all, I did a interview with Tucker Carlson, who's a terrific guy. And I don't know if you saw the number of views, but it was a record-setting number. It was, they say it could be close to 300 by the time it finishes. And right now it's up to, I think, 200.
Is there anyone that I can watch that breaks down how America is Zionist? When I try to research, all I find is neo-Nazi talking points. Most I've sadly learned is from you talking about Ilhan Omar and AIPAC. I mean, I've talked about it extensively. Like, just literally fucking look up, like, just search Israel and on my YouTube channel, and you will get a 1,000 different videos from my YouTube channel alone. So I love this because boomers are legitimately riding with like the Twitter is the poppin' website, and those views are very real. Like, they legitimately think that 300 million people, or 223, I think was the actual number. He even beefed that up. For reference, on Twitter views topic, I get about 1% click through from Twitter links. Yeah, they actually fucking think that it's real. It's actual people watching, which is hilarious.
The time it finishes. And right now it's up to, I think, 257 million. And it is bigger than...
Yeah. Impressions are not views, okay? But even Twitter views are not real views. Like, watching something on Twitter, just think about it from your own personal perspective. When is the last time, or if ever, have you just sat down and watched a fucking Twitter video that was longer than 3 minutes? Like, usually you can't even do it. Like, you physically can't do it because the player is so broken, the video player.
And the biggest ever interview was Oprah with Michael Jackson. I don't know if you know that, but that's the all-time biggest. And I think we've doubled it up. So something's going on. Our country is dying for a good country again. We're a failing nation. We're a failing country. And they're absolutely, they're looking forward to getting back to what we had. I had the safest borders, the biggest tax cuts. We had everything was doing so well. Our military was great. Russia would have never happened with Ukraine. China would never be thinking about. We had a country that people want to get back to, and that's why we had the numbers. As far as
Matt Bender did a article on this to break down what this means for Tucker Carlson's Trump interview. The video itself was actually played only 14.8 million times for at least 2 seconds of the more than 46-minute interview, or just over 6% of the total 236 million times someone saw the post on X. Exactly. No, 100%. The views on Twitter are now just straight up impressions, which is bullshit. But even the views are, even if you look at like the old views metric to see like what it actually is, the actual view count is, that just means 2 seconds. Watching 2 seconds. It's registering 2 seconds as a view. Okay? So you have to remember, like, it is in Elon Musk is a con man, number one, and it is in his best interest to, like, I guess, beef up the idea that, like, so many eyeballs are on Twitter. The real way to look at this is by daily active users on the website. And even then, there's so many bots on the website, as you have personally seen. It's impossible to truly get a grasp on what is going on this fucking website. Like, there's no, but you definitely cannot, because Twitter is not like a video first platform. You will definitely never, ever get a good understanding like you would on YouTube for real time metrics. Okay, like your sad boys talking about. Oh God, this chair makes me look. This angle in this chair makes me look like I have a massively tiny head. Like an incredibly tiny head. Oh, no. Oh, God, I'm never beating the tiny head allegations. You should do it for knowledge stream and put the allegations to rest once and for all. We did it on Leftovers before. Oh, the fucking chair and the angle, god damn it. It's so bad. Okay, listen. Where the fuck were we? Oh, yeah, Trump talking about the Twitter metrics is ridiculous.
The stage last night, I thought Vivek, as we say, did very well. Actually, his name is
Vivek, as they say? What do you mean, as they say? My man made it seem like Vivek is like an entity, as they call him. As they say, Vivek.
Vivek, like cake. But I thought he was very good. I especially liked where I said I was the greatest president in his lifetime and long beyond. That's pretty good. I said, are you sure he's running against me? But I thought he was very good. I wasn't impressed with a lot. I mean, Christie got booed out of the room. He literally should have walked off the stage. That, you know, I've been watching debates for a long time. I've never seen anyone booed like that. Asa, I call him Ada Hutchinson. He shouldn't even be there. He's wasting room. He's wasting space, and he's wasting time. The guy's got like 0.5%, and he doesn't stop. And he's a nasty person, you know, frankly. He's very nasty. I don't even know him. He says bad things about me. I don't even know him. But I don't think that, you know, I actually like the governor. I respect him a lot. He was great. He endorsed me twice. The governor of North Dakota, who I thought was, you know, I think he's got something very good about him. He's a high-quality person, considered a very high-quality man.
You know, you haven't mentioned.
You know, pretty much. I thought a lot of them were way off base.
Sure, DeSantis, he's become less of a factor, but we'd like to play this for you. Listen to this if you don't mind.
Oh, come on, give us the hits.
I can tell you this: as your president, I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take somebody like Fauci and coddle him. You bring Fauci in.
This was such a weak moment for DeSantis because he did that classic thing where he goes like, I am more Trump than Trump himself, but I'm also running against Trump. He's like, first of all, what do you want to do to Fauci? Like, is he even in power? Does he have any fucking power whatsoever? Like, he's retired. What are you going to do? Bring him back, hire him just so you can put a fucking bullet in his head or something? Like, what are you going to do? He's gone. I would fire him. I would fire him extra hard.
Sit him down and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
So I don't know if you could make that out. I think he said the word coddled. He seems to be accusing you of coddling Fauci.
So let me tell you about Ron DeSantis.
You know what's funny about this, by the way? Every single person has their own, every single person in the Republican Party right now, including little Rhonda, has their own, defending the lockdowns moment or mask wearing moment, because there was some truth. I mean, there was a lot of truth to, the fear that even the Republicans in positions of power felt. That's why little Rhonda won't disclose whether or not he's been vaccinated, for example. His wife had fucking cancer. Of course he got vaccinated. Get the fuck out of here. Okay? His wife got cancer in the middle of COVID. You think that motherfucker didn't get vaccinated? Of course he did. That's why he kept lying and acting like he didn't get vaccinated. He also pushed for mass inoculation campaigns early on. So the idea that he can hit Trump on this is a silly one, because they all have done the exact same thing.
As I call him. Without me, he wouldn't be governor.
No, he wasn't anti from the jump. He was anti-lockdowns, but there were certain measures that they implemented in Florida, and they also engaged in mass inoculation campaigns in Florida as well. What are you talking about? It's not like they stopped it. You're wrong.
He was failing desperately. He came to me, begged me for endorsement. I gave him the endorsement, and he went up like a rocket ship. He was failing. He was already out of the campaign. He was being beaten badly by Adam Putnam, who was the agricultural commissioner. And then I had him pass a very hot candidate at the time, a very, very hot candidate at the time in the general election. But he wouldn't have even gotten a nomination. He was down by 35, 40, tremendous amount. And I will tell you that he loved Dr. Fauci. And I'll send you some articles tomorrow. He said, let's not do anything that we don't have the approval of Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, Dr.
See?
Fauci. That's all he talks.
He's doing it. There you go. And he's not wrong. No, he's not wrong. That's it. Like, it's not like these guys didn't do that. He was the governor. Like, of course he fucking was. I mean, he didn't love Dr. Fauci in the same way that Trump never loved Dr. Fauci. But it's so funny that they're like going back and forth on the same shit when they've both done it. You know what I mean? It's so fucking stupid.
Talked about is Dr. Fauci. This guy forgets history. The other thing with the sanctums is, and you have to remember this, very disloyal guy, because you don't do that when somebody gets you elected. Then you say, yes, I'd be proud to run against him. Oh, that's nice. But I'll tell you, he loved Fauci, but he also locked down the state. His beaches were locked down. His roads were locked down. His hope, he's trying to pretend that none of this stuff happened. Now,
yeah, it's not wrong. He did do that. He did do that in the beginning. Everybody did that in the beginning. So the idea that he didn't do that is silly. Why are people adding XQC in the chat? What? Trump is Tupac gangsta? What? Oh, God, please stop.
if you look at somebody like McMaster, Henry McMaster from South Carolina, if you look at Kristi Noem of South Dakota, some of the they really didn't lock down. But Ron locked down Florida. I was there, and I can tell you. And he puts to pretend he's got Fox behind him, although Fox has now given up on him entirely, I think. They're trying to find somebody else. They're looking for somebody else. Just like in 2016, they fought me all the way. At the end, they said, oh, we'd love to. First phone call I got was from Murdoch, but the president of China's call first. And then I took other calls, and then I took Rupert. But Rupert's not somebody that...
Chat. Which is really dumb because, I mean, it's really odd when you think about it because it's like, this was the right thing to do, right? It was the right thing to do. No, it's not fucking April Fools, dumbasses. It's not April Fools, okay? Listen, it was the right thing to do, which is why they did it even in fucking Florida, okay? Which is hilarious because it's, yet again, in the Republican primaries, a race to the bottom. Who can be the absolute worst? Okay? Do you understand? Like, you have to shut off your part of the brain. You have to shut off your part of your brain that says, like, these are good things. They have to implement some measure to protect your citizens. You have to shut that part off. Republicans want something that is bad for them. Here's DeSantis praising Dr. Fauci. Let's take a look. The Fauci ouchie. Ron DeSantis praised Anthony Fauci for COVID response in the spring of 2020 for really doing a good job. Ron DeSantis is also caught wearing a mask in public too. So, like, he can't hit this line as hard either. Do you understand? And he absolutely fucking got vaccinated, like I said. His wife had cancer in the middle of COVID. If you think that motherfucker didn't get vaccinated, you're delusional. And when asked if he was vaccinated or not, he refused to answer numerous times. So you know that means yes in the Republican Party. In the real world, if you're like a normal person and someone says, oh, I don't want to say if I got vaccinated or not, that means you probably didn't get vaccinated. In the Republican universe, if you don't want to say whether you've gotten vaccinated or not, that means you're vaccinated. Because everything is the opposite, okay? It's opposite world.
He and I don't get along very well. You know, it's very interesting. Go to the World Trade Center. They were going to be a tenant Trade Center, which was like terrible. I'm talking about the new World Trade Center.
Bold of you to believe he loves his wife that much, brother or sister, Emily. He does. Whether it's because he thinks his wife is the only redeeming quality in his life that can possibly gain him some kind of momentum in the political sphere, or whether he genuinely loves her, I don't know. But a lot of men divorce their wives. when their wives get cancer. And you could say, oh, well, what about he's a politician in the spotlight, that's why he didn't do it. It's like, no, a lot of politicians very famously will cheat on their wives when they get cancer and just leave them. He is definitely a fucking wife guy, okay? He's a wife guy. Yeah, Newt Gingrich is a great example. John Edwards, there are so many examples.
Move out of Midtown, they're building, and I convinced Rupert not to do it. You're making a mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's the wrong look. You have something good. Send your lease and get options to buy and all this. I gave them great advice, and they didn't move. They were all set to move. I'm sure the people at the World Trade Center weren't so thrilled with me, but I got Fox, that whole News Corp, not to move. That was a big favor. Right now they have a much better location, better building, better everything. I did him big favors, but he's another one that. So I will tell you that I think that the sanctimonious, if you look at his record, you're going to see something that's so different from what people say. As an example, Florida was third in the nation in death. Now, that's a horrible scorecard, but Florida was third in death. He was a big believer in the vaccines. This guy had lines for miles of people getting vaccines. Now he pretends like, you think about vaccines. I mean, he really does. I don't want to call people liars, but if you check his record,
yes, you do.
It's easy. I will send you stories on, he said, I'll do anything without the approval of Dr. Fauci. I mean, I have stories all over the place. And then eventually what it became.
I told you, I literally called this in the beginning when Ron DeSantis was talking about COVID this, COVID that. When he first was like maybe going to be a candidate, I told you two things. One, Americans don't want to think about COVID anymore. So that is like not a thing that you can really talk about with respect to Ron DeSantis, because that's not really a thing that you can use with Ron DeSantis, because like COVID brings about like the scary times, right? But there is definitely a small, very loud population that only talks about COVID still. It exists on the liberal Democratic Party side, and it's a even more loud minority in the Republican side. The ones who are still talking about, they gave us the jabs, everyone's going to fucking die. The crazies, okay? On the liberal side, they're not exactly crazy, but they're definitely a little bit more, they are certainly way more careful and constantly talk about it. I know you know what I'm talking about. You see it on Twitter all the time. The people that still are like, wow, COVID is actually, still surging through the population, and we should have mask mandates and whatnot. That still talk about it on the liberal side for the most part. There are definitely some people that still think about that, but they are on the extreme ends of either spectrum. Not making a moral equivalence here, okay? Not making a moral equivalence whatsoever here, but they are not in any way, shape, or form the norm. Like, most people just don't want to think about it because they had awful experiences from the pandemic, myself included. And let me tell you something. As a Twitch streamer, like many, I think a lot of streamers or people in the live streaming space, people online will admit this, it was massively beneficial for the online space, okay? Bro, you just had COVID? No, I didn't. What the fuck are you talking about? It was massively beneficial for most people and their careers, especially in the online space, myself included. And yet I would never go back to that ever in a million fucking years. I would never want to go back to those, to that situation. I would never fucking, it doesn't matter if I had 100K live concurrent viewers. I would much rather be in the position I'm at now or even in a shittier position overall in my career and not go through that whatsoever. So most people felt that way. No one actually wants to go back to that shit. Finally addressing your COVID irresponsibility. What? It's pretty funny when people say I'm irresponsible on COVID, because like I'm probably, by the way I exist, the most responsible, because I never fucking go out. I never party. I only work out outdoors. Like, I don't even do it because I'm like careful about COVID or anything, but just like I rarely ever fucking travel outside of my house. And when I do, it is to go work out outdoors. So it's pretty funny that people are like, yeah, I'm glad that you're, you're so irresponsible at COVID. Like, scared of the outside world? No, absolutely not. Bro, speak for yourself. I had no social obligations and the government was sending me extra money. I would go back in a second. Yeah, I understand that. Some people, you used an expired COVID-19 test, lol. That's objectively not true. So wait, as a 25-month subscriber, let me ask you a question. Do you think I have freak genetics? Like, what do you think happened there? Do you think I just like fucking was definitely, I had COVID and I just tanked it for like a day and I was fine? Is that what you think is going on? Because last time I had COVID, it fucked me up. Like, so what is it? I'm a superhero. I literally worked out when I had COVID like a day after. That's what you think happened? The shortest run of COVID through my body. I just shit it all out. Am I the chosen one? Is that what it is? Like, what the fuck is happening? What is happening? What are you saying? Bro, so parasocial, they're telling you when you had COVID. Yeah, I know. Like, what happened? I should probably go to science. I should probably be studied by the medical community for how quickly I just overcame COVID. Anyway. You weren't stuck inside with COVID. COVID was stuck inside you. Imagine being a hate watcher for 25 months. No. It's not, that person is not a hater. That person is just like the type of person I was talking about who is like extra careful. Who is extra careful about COVID. And they feel like I'm directly targeting them by making a comparison, not even saying that there's any moral equivalence between people who are extra careful about COVID to this day versus like the psychotic fucking right-wing weirdos who engage in conspiracy theories, you know? But of course, this is one of the worst places to have this argument because let's be fucking real, guys. Twitch is a very agoraphobic platform. You're spending a lot of your time indoors watching Twitch streamers, myself included. So, of course, when I talk about it, there's going to be a group of individuals that are greatly overrepresented here that do not make up the broader majority of the population. That was simply the argument that I was trying to, that I was trying to make, which is that a lot of people don't want to think about it one way or the other, and this includes Republicans. And it certainly includes Democrats as well. Okay? Dog, do you think we don't have jobs, Lamount? No, I'm not. Stop taking everything personally. I'm not talking about people who are outside right now listening to me on their phones or fucking working from home or whatever. Please, Jesus Christ. I can never get anything across to 28,656 people in the chat without people immediately assuming I am addressing them directly and shitting on them. I'm not shitting on a single person. Okay? Stop. I'm simply stating that given the nature of this platform, there are more people who are, relatively agoraphobic in comparison to the average population that probably did not mind the lockdowns in the same way that the average person in the United States of America did not like the lockdowns. And the reason why I'm mentioning that, in many places they didn't even have lockdowns, but like their treats were taken away from them for a brief moment, and that was really frustrating for a lot of people. Okay? But I would not look to this chat to get a decent understanding of what the average American felt during lockdowns, or even the feeling of having lockdowns when there weren't really any lockdowns. You know what I mean? Like it didn't really happen in most places. Okay? So, yeah. Anyway, regardless, but it happened in Florida as well. And Ron DeSantis engaged in them as well in the beginning.
Not a good thing to say that. All of a sudden he said, Dr. Fauci, right. Who is that? So, look, this guy he's dropped like a rock. He's dropped like an ailing bird out of the sky. And I think he's finished, but he's very, very, he's just somebody with a very short memory.
So the RNC kind of seems out to get you. I mean, listen, Fox is, they've turned on you, not all of them, but most of them. And the RNC, they've arranged
Also, some of us do have immunocompromising conditions and still have to work shitty jobs the whole time. So I low-key get privileged vibes when people talk about how fun the lockdown was. Yeah, I know.
Two debates at Fox News. It seems like maybe they did that because they had the understanding that you might not be treated fairly over there on Fox News. What do you think of that?
No, I think the RNC has been good to me. I really do. I mean, you know, they go with, I think Ron is a very good person. We've gotten along for a long time. She ran my whole Michigan area when I won Michigan in 2016. I then did much better in 2020 than I did in 2016, but that's another story. But she ran Michigan and she won. And because of that, I was...
He's not talking about Rhonda.
...getting her to head the RNC. She's very good. She's a very good person.
So that was the beautiful Newsmax interview with Donald Trump. There were parts of that where I think, was that fake news? Or did I see a quote of him saying he didn't know what a mugshot was? That was a joke, right? It felt weird for Trump to say such a thing. Before we move on to more Trump content, you're blaming caution on agoraphobia when lockdowns represent some kind of government response to a severe problem that is still a problem. Long COVID is real and it is not rare, and it will increasingly not be rare as we let this go. We get tired of it being underplayed by everyone. It's a delusion. Oh my God, dude. Let me explain something, okay? You're not wrong. I know that long COVID is real. I think that there has been permanent damage done to the American population because of how hard they dropped the ball. Okay? But that is not what I'm talking about. And even if I'm talking about the people who are like overly cautious about COVID still to this fucking day, like yourself, okay? Which is understandable to a certain degree. The average American does not feel that way. It doesn't matter. If the collective IQ points drop by fucking 25, okay, across the board, Americans are able to tank it. They don't give a shit. That's what I'm saying. They don't care. They don't care. It made some people neurotic, like my mom. And there's also, that's what I mean. There's also like this very real neuroses that exists, like hypochondria. Not that it's even fucking fake, because there is a reality to it, okay, as far as long COVID goes. But the issue there is, at a certain point, in order for man to exist as a social animal, you're just going to sometimes have to brave the elements. You could say I'm a fucking dumb hog, and you could say I'm you could say I'm like, anti-science person or whatever. But ultimately, that is what it takes to be normal and coexist and cohabitate this space, okay? You're just not going to get this message across to people. There's a reason why. It hasn't gained prescience. Worrying about COVID is like being a vegan now. They're not wrong, but no one cares. Exactly. No, literally, that's what it is.